Hello, I'm Taylor Jackson, and this is an episode entitled Why Wedding Photography is the Best Job in the World. Made a video that went a little bit more in depth. It was also kind of a sales video. I'm doing a July special over on the courses website, taylorjacksoncourses.com. And if you're interested, there's a lot of content over there. Every single course I've ever made, as well as we're doing weekly content. New behind the scenes video just went up. I was making a video for that. And I kind of landed on this idea of why wedding photography is the best job in the world. It's definitely something that has transformed my life and taken it to a place that I really could never have expected. When I was in high school, I was pretty much being forced to go down a traditional career path. You go into the office of the guidance counselor and they're like, you can be an accountant, you can be an engineer, here are the starting salaries, here are the percentage hire rates. And my strategy was to pick something that I didn't hate. Actually, my strategy was to cheat a little bit and pick something that I was already pretty much at a professional level to do, which was computer programming. And I selected that. And that was kind of what I thought that life was going to be. I did my first co-op job, and that company was very interesting. It ended up being a company that I worked for that ended up sending me to Las Vegas and really kind of started me in the professional photography world. And then I co-opted for a company that completely fell apart in the term that I was there. By the end of my 4-month co-op term, I was the second most senior developer at the entire company, which is pretty crazy and unreasonable. I learned a lot watching a company implode. It was all about non-compete contracts that they were making their employees sign that were very, very wildly unfair. Got to hear all about it. Got to see the interior of the more evil corporate world. And then at my first job, even though they were a bigger company, it seemed kind of chill. So I kind of wanted to, I knew that there was an opportunity to work for them. I was already doing photography, I was doing graphics, I was doing video. So I felt like there was kind of a job for me there to appease the parents. Basically, if I was to graduate, they would have sent me and been like, you have to go get a full-time job now. And for me to continue working at Outback Steakhouse and only do freelance part-time work might not have been an easy conversation. So the easier conversation was, hey, I'm going back to school. I'm going to do another program. So I went to school for advertising. My friend Marshall, that's where we met, which is kind of fun. I would say that that's maybe the best part that I've taken from my year of advertising. I dropped out. The program essentially told you how to go on Google Images and how to steal images and use basic Photoshop functionality. I dropped out after the first year because my photography business was pretty successful. I was also Outback Steakhouse, so maybe overrated, underrated jobs. Working at an Outback Steakhouse, even though I make fun of it, it's the stupidest sounding thing. We did very, very well there. I think at one point, one of the years I added it up and with tips and everything, I was doing $85,000 or $90,000 a year working at an Outback Steakhouse as a server. And having that kind of safety net, I guess, and also a very customizable safety net that if I needed to travel or if I needed a Saturday off to go shoot a wedding, I could. So basically, I guess I have Outback Steakhouse to thank for becoming a proper photographer and actually having the time and ability to put effort into this craft and to build it to the place that it is now. Man, how Outback Steakhouse made me a wedding photographer or something similar would have been a great title for this pod. Way clickier than what I called it. That's okay though. I'll make a future video about it because I really do believe that it's true. And I think having a serving job, if you are working at a restaurant or whatever right now, I think it is the best job to have in tandem with a growing photography business. I definitely found that when I started working, not necessarily full-time, I was doing kind of 20 hours a week part-time. Even that was, this was at the co-op job. I eventually looped back and did a term there that I made my own job. Sorry to skip over details. Anyways, I had this desk job, 20 hours a week, and I felt like when I went into work that I wasn't even generating as much money as I would have been had I been working just for my photography business. So I did a bit of a funny thing at that job, and I actually outsourced my entire role while I was there. I did all the fun jobs, and then I outsourced all of the non-fun jobs, such as uploading. I think they gave me like 10,000 images, and they're like, hey, over the next year and a half, can you upload all of these to Flickr and keyword them? And I was like, I'm going to do 50 of them and see roughly how long that takes me. And then I'm going to outsource it to somebody else and make them do it and pay them less money than I'm making per hour because living wage, wherever they were, was a little bit less. And I was able to basically spend my time at my office job working on my photography business, because if you're working on a photography website, behind the scenes, the code looks the same as anything else you might be doing. And then the fun jobs were the ones that I got to go out and I got to do installation stories and do photography and do interviews and capture video and all of the skills that I continue to learn today. So I don't know if there's anything that you can pull from that. It's weird to outsource your job, and you have to be very aware of NDAs and what you're actually allowed to tell people. But in my experience, anyone can just upload stuff to Flickr and keyword it. That's no problem at all. So all of the skills that I learned there, as well as all the skills that I was learning kind of on my own time and bringing into that job, and then the money, financial freedom, or at least somewhat of stability that I could go into Outback Steakhouse and leave on a Friday or Saturday with $300. And I was able to, like in the beginning, I did not have to be a starving artist. I'm going to punch in here. And there's actually, so I forget where it was, but somebody said, it was in a movie or something. But basically, if you want to become a true artist, David Cho. So David Cho show, I believe it's in, go actually spend money. You can get it on YouTube or find it wherever. I don't even know what network it's on. David Cho show. He was doing an interview, and this might have even been a clip with Anthony Bourdain. I think it was. This might have been from Parts Unknown. Also go watch the Cho show, but also I believe that this was from Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain, LA episode in, I guess, Koreatown, where they go to Sizzler and they eat from the buffet and they create amazing tacos. It's an episode worth watching. Anyways, David Cho says, basically, if you are an artist and you're mentally fine, you're financially fine, can you create good art? And his answer was no. And then I guess the second part of that question is, do you put yourself in a place where you have to struggle in order to create great art? And his answer was yes. He is obviously in a much more artistic realm than I would consider myself to be in as a wedding photographer. Yes, I do photography, which is an artistic medium, but I don't believe that I need to necessarily put myself in a huge struggle in order to be successful and to create art worthy of the world. But I thought that was a very interesting realization that he came to, and I had not really heard anyone talk about it before. So go check that episode out, Parts Unknown, Anthony Bourdain, Koreatown. I think David Chang's in it, David Cho's in it. It's a real all-star cast of Davids, and also just an incredible show all around. And I never really had the dream to be a starving artist. Maybe, yes, as Cho says, there might be value in such things, but as somebody that I guess maybe had to have more of a professional presence in order to continue to book work, I felt that wasn't really an avenue for me. That felt stressful, and I'm much happier to know where I'm paying rent from rather than be scrambling for rent every single month or trying to hitchhike across the world, which David Cho has also done. I really just a huge David Cho fan. And this kind of intersects in the section of my life where I was more into weddings. So I kind of left out the part of the story where I did come from photography, which made me absolutely no money. I got paid in t-shirts, and then snowboarding, skateboard photography, which kind of all of those avenues just allowed me to have access to people. And I would basically tell them like, hey, love to come out and shoot some snowboard videos or photos for you for free, as long as you and your significant other can go out and do a couples session with me. And they would groan and they'd be like, okay, your snowboard photography is pretty good. Maybe we'll do it. And that's how I built my portfolio. It was a very calculated effort. I definitely went on Google a few times and I figured out what genres of photography could actually make a sustainable wage for life. And wedding photography, I feel like, was always number one on the list. It's just the joke that wedding photography is overvalued, overrated, whatever. It is a lot of work. It does take a lot of time and effort and editing and human hours and gear and insurance and all kinds of stuff. Not as much as a bricks and mortar store. Like if you wanted to open a bakery, it's gonna be way more expensive than a photography business, but a lot does go into photography. And I think that the value, it is fair value for what we deliver to clients and couples. And in the beginning, it is really, really hard to generate anything, to be booking really any weddings. And then when you start booking them, the downside is, we will get to why wedding photography is the best job. In the beginning, when you're booking couples, they're 2 years out, or maybe a year, or maybe 18 months. And you're not able to build your portfolio as fast as you would like to. So my advice, I guess, is go out, build your own portfolio, convince your own friends and people, trade them, do snowboard photos in exchange for couples photos, and do whatever it takes to get that initial portfolio and to get that portfolio moving in a direction that feels right to you. And it is going in a direction of what you would like to be creating in the future, because whatever content you're creating now is what you're going to be booked for in the future. And it is very important to keep that in mind. And it is very important to know what to show and also what not to show. You can shoot a wedding and you don't have to put that all over your website just because it's maybe the only real wedding that you've been to. If it doesn't support the direction that you want your business to go in, then maybe it makes sense to leave it off for now. I did not subscribe to this advice when I was first getting started, and I had concert photos and I had my stock photography and I used to photograph kitchens. I had some kitchen photography and I also had weddings and couples on my website. And obviously looking back, that was quite a mistake. And everyone was like, you can't do that. And I was like, but my wedding photos aren't very good, but my music photos are pretty good. And as it turns out, I think obviously it maybe made the runway a little bit longer than it should have been, but I don't think it was a huge detriment because in the early stages, a lot of the couples that were booking me knew about me through band and music photography. I also kind of branded myself or positioned myself in the market as kind of a non-wedding photographer. I'm a concert photographer that wants to come out to your wedding day and photograph you like I would photograph a live event. And that was kind of what I doubled down on. I did some, I think it was Google AdWords at the time. And then it eventually became Facebook when Facebook opened ads to kind of everybody. And I really did talk a lot about that I was not a wedding photographer. I didn't want to be a traditional wedding photographer, even though you look at my website and I'm super clearly a traditional-ish wedding photographer. I'm not doing anything creative. I'm not a Sam Hurd. I'm there to basically deliver the highest quality images in the most efficient way possible and have zero friction on the day. And that's kind of the message that I lead with now. And it really does seem to resonate with my couples that pretty much everything is candid and everything is somewhat fun. And I also will only take maybe 20 minutes for a photo session, maybe less, maybe as Sam does. If you've watched the second shooting with Sam Hurd video on the YouTube channel, maybe we do a bunch of little 5-minute shoots throughout the day rather than one 20-minute shoot. And that's all the photos that I need from the day. So now I have a portfolio. I have a reasonable amount of images in it that kind of show me as a wedding photographer. I booked a few freebies off Craigslist that were absolutely terrible that I could make an entire podcast about, I'm sure. And I had enough to start marketing myself and to start actually generating bookings in the direction and for ideal couples. In the beginning, it was definitely very hit or miss that maybe 1 in 5 would be an ideal couple that I would really get along. I'd be really looking forward to one specific wedding day. And then 4 of them seemed fine at time of booking. And slowly over time, it just became not the relationship that I thought it was going to be kind of from those first few emails and correspondences. And that's just something that I've kind of learned over time is what of those subtle red flags to look out for that I can continue to tweak. And maybe you can also manage expectations from the beginning. That's something I was very poor at getting started. And I feel like it's just a learning curve that we all have to go on in order to find our way to shooting our ideal clients. And now, many, many, many years later, like 18 years later, that's when I think I've been doing this for about 18 years now. And now in my 18th year of wedding photography, we'll call it that, I would say that I'm shooting in every 5 weddings. 4 of them are ideal couples now. And 1 is maybe kind of on the borderline that yes, maybe the venue aligns, maybe the mindset of the wedding day aligns, but there's something that's just maybe not 100% ideal, or I don't know, just something's a little bit off with it. And 4 out of 5, I'm going to say ain't bad. That is something that I don't think I ever thought it was possible. And I think that my first few weddings on Craigslist were very, very hard weddings, very, very challenging actually. And they almost turned me off of it. I knew that weddings could be better. I was looking at people at the time. It was a dude named Becker and a lady that unfortunately has passed away since then, Jessica Claire, that I guess Becker, what happened was Becker shot the weddings of Jessica Claire, and then she became a wedding photographer. I'm sorry if I'm mixing the story up a little bit. And then he shot the wedding of Jasmine Star, and Jasmine Star became a wedding photographer. And it seemed like anyone that was coming up in Southern California at a time was all, their weddings were always photographed by Becker, or he had some sort of influence in their lives. He definitely trained me a lot in my early days, both online. He was one of the first instructors to be doing video with Jerry Guiones, not together, sometimes together, but they had separate platforms, and they were kind of the first people to create video. And I would say that a lot of my video content production comes from the fact that they kind of showed me the way in wedding photography, and I really got a lot of value from that. So that's kind of why I do a lot of YouTube videos. And they were shooting weddings that were very, very nice and very, very lovely. And that was kind of the ongoing dream of mine that I was like, if I get through these, I can eventually get to that tier of wedding that I will start to really enjoy myself. Maybe someone even someday will bring me out to California, and eventually that did come full circle. So the idea of wedding photography in the beginning, very, very hard, stressful. You're probably going to want to give up at certain points. You're not going to be shooting the ideal weddings, and it is definitely not the best job in the world. Pushing through that, or maybe you got fortunate and you found all of your favorite couples and you have an amazingly fast start and everything's awesome. That's incredible for you, but I feel like you are the exception and you're not the rule. I feel like a lot of us come up in a space that really sucks for a little while, whether you're just not booking or maybe you're just hitting the wrong couples every single weekend, and they're somehow finding you, somehow connecting with them, and it is a bit of a struggle until you figure that out and you start working with your ideal couples. And at that time, wedding photography becomes the best job in the world. Okay, I'm gonna go through why here. Number one, you're obviously creating something that is immediately valuable for your couple for the rest of their lives, for their family. Sadly, you're going to be taking a lot of people's last photos, the photos that they're going to be remembered by forever. And maybe not sadly, maybe that's a positive actually. And you are just creating beautiful imagery for your couples and for their families to continue to enjoy for the rest of their lifetime. So that is really, really cool. Number two, the financial freedom. Once you do kind of unlock that next tier and you get out of the bottom area of the wedding photography pricing, it becomes a very nice place to live and a nice paycheck every single weekend that you get to do something that you like and you get paid very, very well for it. And then number three, and the thing that I'm the most excited for and that I talk about all the time on the YouTube channel, and that is the time freedom, that also the, I guess, location freedom. The time and location freedom that it comes with, that if you have set your business up in a way that you're working with your ideal couples and potentially you're outsourcing everything, because that's pretty much the biggest, maybe not the biggest, yeah, I'll call it the biggest amount of time that you'd have to spend actually working kind of a quote unquote 9-to-5 job is actually processing all your images. If you're using a system like Imagen AI, which automatically processes your photography for you. It's remarkably good. Lindsay used it the other day and it blew her mind. And it'll pretty much give you like 95% of what you would usually edit to in, I think, maybe like a 6-minute round trip. And it just does it and it sends it back to you. Or maybe you're hiring an editor, or maybe you're training someone. There's all kinds of different ways to get rid of the 9-to-5 aspect of the wedding photography thing. And one thing I think I did good early on was that I came to terms with the fact that this was an important part of what I was going to have to do in the future in order to unlock this time and location freedom. And if you are, I guess the biggest roadblocks to actually outsourcing are usually money or control. And if you become okay with the control aspect and you can free up enough hours in your week to actually be spending on marketing or doing shoots or getting out there in the community, a huge thing we discovered was the more work we did out in the community, whether that was self-governed work that we decided we want to do a startup documentary and we just went around to a bunch of startups and emailed a bunch of people and put together a project, whether you do something like that, or you're just out at different events, or you're just kind of getting more known in the community. You're doing different things. You pick an avenue, say skateboard, snowboard section of your world, and you kind of double down on that and you just do a lot of content within that. What kind of that means, maybe skateboard, snowboard might not be an ideal market. Maybe pick something that has people that are maybe a little bit closer to being married. Typically that market's a little bit younger, and everyone that's going to be coming up within kind of that market that you target, whether what we discovered is it's a lot of moms telling their sons and daughters about a wedding photographer. And that's how our food show here that we did locally for a couple of years until COVID, we basically kind of ran that. And what we discovered was that obviously Nick, he was the second partner in that, and he's a chef, so people obviously came into his restaurants. But what I discovered was that a lot of mothers were telling their daughters to get in touch with me as a wedding photographer, or this guy that has a food show. They know this guy, you should book him. And I wouldn't see that connection right away. Sometimes they would maybe say it because it's a funny connection, but most of the time I would arrive to the wedding day and the mom or dad would be like, "Hey, we love your food show. We told like Jessica to send you an email and talk to you." And sometimes also maybe they're the ones paying the bill. So maybe it's like a very, very easy, weird, indirect sales channel. Anyways, it did work out quite a lot. And by getting out there in the community and just being involved in creating good quality content for the local area really did go a long ways. Now, moving into, I've been photographing weddings. I haven't yet done any destination weddings. The first destination wedding that came in, I quoted so high because somebody was like, well, you're gone for 3 days, so you should charge 3 times your packages. And I was like, yes, that sounds right, sir. And I did that. And for some reason, they shouldn't have booked. They did. I did the best job, or at least at the time, the highest quality job that I was capable of. And I went so over and beyond for them. And we went out to Mexico, did that wedding. It was amazing. We did a day after shoot, or maybe 2 days after shoot. And everything was just perfect with it. And I generated enough portfolio to start marketing myself as a destination wedding photographer, even though I had just done one. This is the problem with destination weddings, is that you have to kind of do one that looks like it before you're actually able to get hired for one. Obviously there's exceptions. My was an exception, I guess. But most of the time, I would say the easiest path to success in destination weddings are if you already have images to show. So what that means, come on out to our Banff workshop here in Banff, Canada. But actually, so this isn't really, I guess it is kind of a plug because we're obviously putting on a workshop where you can come. This wasn't part of the plan of the episode. But basically, the idea is that you get to go somewhere, and yes, you pay to go there, but people set up shoots for you and you can generate some sort of portfolio. Some might see this as cheating. And I think it is important to not only rely on these workshop images in your portfolio, that you definitely do have to have real wedding work, and to show that you can go to a wedding and you can deliver this quality of work. I think that is very, very important, not only for your website for marketing, but also for you as an honest business owner. But to go out and to shoot some amazing photos in the mountains at our Banff workshop, check out bookfocal.com/Banff, BANFF. And to go out and to create great work, like basically world-class work in a very easy turnkey environment, will do so many incredible things for your portfolio. And if you're only shooting kind of local weddings around where you're at, that might be fine and great. But as soon as you go out, this is something that I discovered in music, that as soon as I went out of my local area to somewhere that was an impressive location and took photos, all of a sudden I was a lot more in demand. I noticed this when I was a music photographer, that I went with my friend's band to New York City to record a record with the dude that recorded at the drive-in in Casino Out, which is an incredible record. Anyways, they're like, Alex, we want to hire you to produce our record. We went down and I just took photos of them in the studio recording a record. We live in about an hour outside of Toronto, Canada. And most bands, they tour to Toronto. Maybe they see Montreal. Maybe they go all the way west and they go to Halifax, or west, Vancouver, or maybe they go all the way east into Halifax. But not a lot of bands going to the States. It's kind of, I don't know, visa is hard. So we went to New York City. They recorded a record. I took photos of that. We came back. All of a sudden, I was the most in-demand concert photographer in the local area for some reason, because I had gone to New York City, and now it was a stupid big deal because, oh my God, wow, you went to New York City to photograph a band recording a record. Wow, cool. It doesn't seem that impressive, but when you just like the location and the distance seems to add some sort of credibility. So if you can involve that in the early stages of your work or early stages of your business and make that kind of a core piece, we still continue kind of that mindset today that if I can go and I can do a shoot in Iceland, even if that shoot breaks even, that I'm getting paid to do the shoot, but we're still like booking our airfare and whatever, and that shoot is a complete kind of break even zero, I'm obviously going to be doing other work there to generate revenue, to generate profit, but it is something that is important to my business to keep rolling, because that is something that helps a lot with marketing. So maybe something that's to look forward to, because again, wedding photography, best job in the world. You can kind of bring it wherever you want. If you want to do more destination weddings, get out there, shoot those destination weddings, and unlock that achievement, I guess, in order to be able to do more destination weddings. And the more that you do, one thing that you'll learn, and I guess for destination weddings in terms of kind of what I'm speaking about, the easy ones up here in Canada are to go down south to an island, to go to Mexico, to go to one of the actual islands. Mexico is not really an island. And to go somewhere with a beach and to take photos, typically at an all-inclusive or at a hotel. And what we discovered very quickly was that whenever a couple is a destination wedding style couple, their friends and family all come. There's a pretty good chance that the crowd's going to be a little bit younger. Pretty good chance that one of them is probably going to get engaged on the trip. And all of a sudden, you're now a wedding photographer for 3 weddings from referrals based on that one single wedding that you did. And I think that I definitely saw this early on when I was doing this. I think I've done maybe 50 or 60 destination weddings. So I spent a full year at an all-inclusive on an island at this point in my life. I haven't really done destinations in a little while now. Obviously COVID made things a little bit challenging. And now we have more of a life here. I guess Lindsay and I have dog, cat. We have things rather than me. Prior to that I just was able to grab my camera and put it in a backpack and go bring 2 cameras, bring 3 cameras if you're at a destination. There's no camera store nearby. And that's kind of how that changed. But that could have easily been an avenue that had I wanted to just only do destinations full time, it was definitely a possibility at that time. And I think that that's what's cool. And again, what makes wedding photography the best job is that it can be completely customized to what you want to do. If you want to spend time with your kids, you can do that. You want to go to the cottage in the summer. I have a friend that takes July and August off. Probably, maybe not the busiest 2 months, but definitely prime wedding season. They work really hard in June, September, October, and May, and that's about it. And they're fine with that. We do the more reasonable approach, I'll call it that, where I take off from typically November. The first week in November is usually the last wedding that I'll book. And then I won't really book anything maybe until the end of April. And we spend that time doing YouTube content and traveling and getting out in the world and doing all the videos that you see on YouTube. And we film pretty much an entire year's worth of content in that time. And that is kind of the balance that we discovered that we like and we enjoy to do. So wedding photography really kind of can be whatever you want it to be. You want to travel, awesome. You want to spend more time at your cottage, that's great too. You can do both of those things if you so desire. So if you are in the early stages of wedding photography, know that it does get better. It's not all struggle forever. At some point, definitely it's never on autopilot, but at some point, your business becomes known enough that you are generating ongoing, consistent referrals without actively having to market all of the time. Obviously, you kind of fill in the gaps when people aren't knocking on your door to go out and market and to find some more people. But most of the time, when you're 5 or 7 years into business, there's a pretty good chance that somebody's been following you on Instagram for a little while. And as soon as they get engaged, you're the photographer that they've been waiting to basically send this email to and to ask them. So it does get easier. And again, you're working one day. You got to answer emails too. And sometimes there's engagement sessions, but overall, you're kind of working one hard day out of the week. And the rest of it can kind of be however you want to customize it. If you want to work from midnight till 2 a.m., that's when you want to do your emails, awesome. If you want to do them in the morning like a normal person over coffee, that's fine too. Maybe a bonus tip. We'll close this podcast off, but maybe bonus tip. The cat is on my desk now. She's now gone. Bonus tip for today. If you are answering emails at a time that your couples or whoever you're emailing to will be sitting at their desk and will respond to that email right away, and you don't want to play email ping pong all day, get a tool like Boomerang or any way to schedule your outgoing emails and make them all go at 8 or 9 p.m. So write everything at 8 a.m., schedule it all to go out later in the night or even like 1 in the morning or whatever. And all of those emails go out at a later time so they're not instantly kicked back to you. I've definitely sat through days where I sat down, I'm like, cool, I have 12 emails. I'm going to answer them all right now. And then by the time that I've answered all 12 emails, I have 12 responses from all the people. So schedule your emails and to send out. Use Boomerang to just automate it if you want. And that's my tip for you. I had no questions this week. So if you have any questions, send me a DM. I am at Taylor Jackson on Instagram, and I can talk about those questions next time. We're off to Banff, Canada. It's such a weird word to say. And I'm actually doing promo for the workshop that we're going to be doing. So that workshop is in September. So if you want to come to Canada and you want that turnkey solution to just take some wedding photos in beautiful locations with mountains and dresses and everything, and you don't want to have to set that up, come on out. It is well worth the investment, and I know that for sure. If I could go back, I cut in a little too sharp there. If I could go back to the beginning of my photography career and I had the money to invest in my business in this way, it would have been, it was definitely something that I should have done more of that I didn't realize the value of until a bunch of years later. But it can definitely shorten the runway of your wedding photography business and get you flying into the air to Mexico or whatever destination wedding you want to do. Maybe let's say Paris. Everyone loves Paris, I think. That's all for today. See you again next time. Again, members website, birthday rate until July 14th. Head on over to taylorjacksoncourses.com. There's a link at the top right now, and you get access to all of my premium content. We're doing weekly videos over there. There is a behind the scenes video that has just gone up, as well as I think 70 other weeks of ongoing weekly content and a ton of courses. There are, I'm going to say at least 20 different courses, from how to get paid to travel to book more weddings 2022 to advanced wedding photography marketing. There's all kinds of stuff up there, and you get my presets, and you get the LUTs if you're doing video, which you should be. There's also how to make a highlight film. All kinds of stuff. I feel like I should have just been listing them and should have done a fade out on the mic, but I didn't. Thanks for listening. See you next time.